This time in Yerushalmi Shekalim, the article edition, we're starting the Gemara on Daf Nemches Rav called Rokim Chui, which in the Vilna Yerushalmi is on Lamed Aleph on the base towards the bottom, and the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi is on Chaf Aleph on the base right towards the top. There's no header there in the Bavli Yerushalmi. Called Rokim Chui. So we said the Rokim Shekalim were Tamei. So why? Rabbi Yamshem, Rabbi Shub, and Levi said Katzron Shagoyim Hayasham. So most of the Farshim explain Katzron is the language of a launderer, and Goyim, of course, they were Goyzer and non-Jews, that they have a status of Zavin, whether they are or not, Lo Plug. So therefore, any Rok there had a status of a the Rok of a Zav. But Rashi in Pesachim Daf Yutes and Beis, and article brings it down in the Note 12 says that the very Shai says in the upper marketplace they would gather together the Tmeim in order not to need time everybody else. And Mishnah doesn't understand why he didn't explain like the Yerushalmi here in Shekalim. So the Afar Yerushalmi, my cousin, does a very nice job here, I have to say, explaining Rashi based on two prefaces. One is that in the Bavli here, there's a girsa in parentheses, Katzron Zovin. So therefore, according to that, they're Yerushalim, Zavim, not Nochrim, which they were goys, they're Zavim, but the Jews who were actually Zavim. And also he brings down a Gillian Ephraim from Eruvin, Daf Lamed Aleph and Beis, who explains the word Katzrin is from Latin, castrus, which I guess is similar to the word castle, and that means a fortified area. So it was an area, I guess, which, from this perspective, the way the Offer Yerushalayim explains it, which was fortified in the sense that they collected there. They gathered together and they were in that specific place. It's interesting that, in fact, according to what we said yesterday, Migdal David, the fortress of Yerushalayim, is built there. So it could be that the Katzrin Shel Tmeim is actually refers, or Shel Zavim, or Shel Nachrim, refers to the actual castle which was there. But even if not, it could refer, like the Bible says, like Rashi says, to the place where the Tmeim gathered together, as if it was a fortified area. Anyway, that's very nice that you put those two things together. Reb Chaim brings down both pshatim. There was either there were goyim, shel nochrim, or he brings down also Yosef Zabin, and Zabin Zavos were there. Amar Bechina said Arudus Hayu Nochrim Bi Yerushalayim. So this is a issue which we're going to come back in a moment. The greater detail, but there was a place in Yerushalayim where they used to slaughter wild donkeys, and the Mepharshim say, the questions coordinator, for example, Arude Hayar, donkeys of the forest. They would slaughter there for the lions of the kings. Okay, whatever the reason was, they're slaughtering them. And and the Oli Regoim would sink into this blood up to their calves. And they didn't say anything to them about the becoming Tamei, as the we're going to see in a moment that Adam Shel Mebela is not Matame. So therefore they were okay. Now the next line, some of the first you take out. Who did I say took it out? Reb Chaim takes it out, but I saw somebody else takes it out as well. What's it? Who was it? Next line. Oh, the Shin is close. Okay, the Bishim Bava, etc. In the Bavli and in the Ratzville, it doesn't have it, and the little Karmeda says, oh, it's not going to say it's going to Karmeda Ada. Yeah. Okay, Bishim Bava, Bishim Bava said, Katsush Akum Yasham, the next line, Logos Tina Lehacha. Sure, remember that was the Karmeda. So so he says here, that line is repetitive. We take out. Okay. So then, we're going to come back. So we're going to come back now, or if we take out the line, we never left it, to the issue of this wild donkey blood. So Rabbi Simon Shem Shubin lives in Meiser Peter Michel Beis Rebbe. The Meiser was a mule in the house of Rebbe. Shemesa died, but Tiros lived the Dameh Mishun Nevela, and they were retired its blood on account of Nevela. And this is a sugi which we had previously in the Masechta. It was on Daf Vav Amud Beis in the Art Scroll. No, not the Art Scroll. In the it's Chabez Amud Beis Aleph in the Art Scroll, and Vav Beis I guess was in the one of the first in the Yerushalmi. I'm just looking the Chum Eder brings it down there. Brings down their reference. So Rabbi Shimon Levi. So Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shimon Ad Kama. How much blood is tar? Is even more than Revius? V'logi didn't respond to him. He didn't respond. Shal Rabbi Shimon Levi. That's Rabbi Shimon Levi. Only ad Revius tar. Only up to Revius is tar. Yosim, you can't tell me if it's more than a Revius, it's tummy. And now the same Moshe explains the fish are Revius who belach who kizayis b'yovish. A Revius in the liquid measure is the same as a kizayis in dry measure. The dam nevel kibsar the tam kibzayis I'm on this man the roads that dam kizayis is like the dry measure nevela, which is therefore the mimatam kizayis equivalent as a Revius. So the Gemara says Uvashle Rabbi Eliezer lo chazer Rabbi Shimon Shmuel. And Rabbi Eliezer said that Rabbi Shimon did not respond to him this statement named Rabbi Shimon Levi. Rabbi have a Yossi Masne in Uvda. Rabbi was telling over this story in a different version. That Amalei Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yitzchak said to him, "Ad Revius Torah Yossi Mekanos Tomei up to Revius Torah. More than that is Tomei." Uvatle, and he kicked him. So the way the Moshe says, "Hayoshim Sarpa Yuvda B'Ilin Acher Shibas Shol Derech Shel Rabbi Simon Imar Revius Dafka Torah." So Rabbi Bisna actually said to Rabbi Simon, "Is it up to Revius Torah? V'yesu Tame and more is Tame." But Rabbi Simon kicked Rabbi Simon and Garbo. We better said back when we had it first time. This is literally kicking, not literally kicking. Sounds like literally kicking. I was thinking to say begin to Shailach because you asked the question. I bought by you kick him. Come on. Amalei said, Rabbi Simon says, because I was discombobulated. Begin to love as that toy be. I wasn't, my mind was not in order. So your life will dangle opposite you. Somebody who buys wheat for the entire year. Even that person his life is opposite him because he's concerned that he's going to have enough grain for the entire year. You're going to be afraid night and day, which is much worse. That somebody who buys from a retail grain merchant. And not believing in life, which is even worse. Somebody who buys from a baker, and I rely on a baker, and therefore I was in the state of discombobulation. Maikadun. What's the conclusion with Dam Nifshan Lebelu? Say Rabbi Shimon ben Beseira, Adam Veishu Tor. It's Tor. Mao Tor. What does it mean it's Tor? So does the Torah mean it's Tor altogether? So the Gemara says, no. Tor Milhachshir. It's not machshir the kabatuma. It's like it's to be a mashke that can make something suitable the kabatuma. Halatamas to metame, but to the metame, it is metame like an avela. Tamatin, we in fact learned over there. Where is over there in machshir that dam asheretz is metame kibsoro. Dam asheretz is metame like its flesh, which is the size of a dasha, if I recall correctly, besides a lentil. Ve'eno machshir. It's not machshir. It's not going to be a mashke. It's metame. This is like the flesh, just like we said now about the dam nevela. But it's not machshir. Ein lono kayotzibo. But it says there, ein lono kayotzibo. What do you mean ein lono kayotzibo? We have something kayotzibo. It says we have nothing similar. We have something similar, which is the dam nevela. So the Gemara says, "Ein lo k'etzibos shir tumaso." We don't have the same thing. We have no such thing where the shear of the tuma of the blood and of the flesh is exactly the same kadosha. Evidently, the blood of a sheretz is more viscous, and therefore, even if you have blood the size of a dasha, it's the same thing as the flesh the size of a dasha. Whereas opposed to by nevela, where you need a revius of blood to make the equivalent of a kazayis of flesh. I guess it's a little bit more watery, so therefore it has to be a little bit more quantity of blood than it is, even though it's nikrach, it's only a kazayis, but it means right now it's more than a kazayis. So it solidifies the kazayis, but if it's liquid, it's a larger share, the share of revius, like we said. So that eno ketzava share tomaso avadoma metame kipsaro that we do have. Amar Rav Yosef said, Manda Martame Rabbi Yehuda. So the same Moshe brings down which Rabbi Yehuda. Tanoi, this is really Malchus Tanoi, where the down the bay is time or not. Time or not. Tikam Manda Martame Rabbi Yehuda, the Reish Parakeh the Duyos. Shade Shishad Vorim Klib Beishamai is Chumei so it's specified 6 things. Beishamai is Mekel and Beis Hilos Machmir. One of them is down the Velos. Beishamai Tarim Beisom Tamin. The Kaim look at Beis Hill. Okay. Then there's another mandamar. Mandamar Tor is Kabishub ben Sarah. In other words, so the Tor is like Kabishub ben Sarah, who holds that it's Tor no matter what the shear is. Where do we have him? Yeah, we had a few lines ago. Here Kabishub ben Sarah down the Beishu Tor. So but the Gemara rejected Mount Tor Tam actually Tamas Tame. Rabbi Yisrael holds no. When he said Torah, he meant Torah mamish. Not like you wanted to say before that it's Torah milachsha, but mitame, no, it's Torah mamish. Amalei Rav Duma, Nechaysa Duma, the Nechaysa, who used to go back frequently from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, as the name Moshe says, the Kakakran associated regularly Bavel Eretz Yisrael. He says, Yos, you're right, makes sense. Yehuda's well she does because Yehuda Marina the Nasiya of Rabbeinu was the Pesach in the house of the Nasi, and based on his say so, they asked her the dam of the Prater that was more than abuse. Okay, so now we go on to the next part of the sugya. The Mishnah said that, as we said, that Meir says all the rokim you find Shlomo Torah except in the Shukah Elya. So the more asks, Lokim Rav Shem B'Yisrael, logos are Rokim Sheb Yerushalayim. It seems that all of Yerushalayim was Torah. They weren't good than David. Like my law, Rabbi Yam Shem B'Shem said, no. Katz and Shogoyim Hayasham. Shukayim was different. So therefore, they were Matami, they broke in the Shukayim. Okay, next we're going to go to the gears of the Gra, which of course is the gears of Tachlin and Chadatin, and of course the gears of Reb Chaim. So we're going to go with it. But first, the Gemara says, the rest of the year we could go Tmei Malchim Shibolos. The Tmei will go Shibolos, which means straight. Question: why Shibolos means straight? So the offer Yerushalayim brings down that Shibolos Hanor is like the heavy flow of the river, which is the middle of the river. Shibolos Shtafasni. Pasuk in Shtafani. Tilim Samach Tes Gimel. So the heavy flow of the river. Another pshat he gives that the Shibolos, I guess, is the stalk from which the grain comes out, and the grain surrounds it. The kernels of grain surround it on all sides. But anyway, so the Torah Malchim shows Shibolos go straight. But the Torah Malchim inside and Torim go on the side. Now, the gears of the Gra here is Hatmei Malchim Stam. The Tmeim just walk, not a Torah Malchim Stam. Hatmei Malchim Stam. V'atahorim, since they're minority, Omer and Proshu, they say, stay away from us. Okay, so Pshasa Regel, it's the opposite. But not in this. The Torah Malchim Shibolos. Here we go. The Gemara gears the Gemara. Turn and go in the middle of the road. But Tmeim Malchim in that side, and the Tmeim would go from the side. And here we change the gears again. Right, the Tahorim Malchim Stam, because they're the majority, they just go. But Tmeim, when in approaching, the Tmeim tell the Tahorim, stay away from us, we're on the sides, we're the ones who are Tomei. Okay, so Again, the Gra changes that Girsa, for not who's walking whom, where, that remains the same, but who tells who what. He changed the Girsa. So I'm going to read again, just straight through the way the Gra writes. So Shai Moshe Shai Tamei Malachim Shboas, Vatar Malachim Minatzad, Hatamei Malachim Stam, Vatar Mamim Lehem Proshu. Shai Sareg, Hatorim Mina Malachim Shboas, Vatamei Malachim Minatzad, Hatahorim Malachim Stam, Vatamei Omrim Lehem Proshu. Okay. Next Gemara. Chol HaKelim, there actually is there's a header in the Reb Chaim, not in the article. Interesting. I guess it must be in the Vilna. Let's check about that. Otherwise, why would he have it? Yeah, it's a header in the Vilna. It's usually the other way around. Okay. Okay, but so that's more lo came Ravo b'Shem Yochanan. How can you say any came Mishleim or Tomei? Then by Ravo saying every just like we weren't guys and guys broke him. Lo goes to came Mishleim. They make it say came Mishleim. So again, the same thing. To every rule, there's an exception to the rule. Mikavon shenimtzu. They read the Beis HaTfilah. Since they found on the way down to the Beis HaTfilah, Nasu Uchiach, it indicates clearly that there was an issue, and therefore, okay, that's the exception to the rule. And we say that they were these came which go on the way down. They were matame. They were tame. The Gemara now goes into the definition of the kli called the maritza, which we say was not even mentioned in our version of the Mishnah here, but we're going to discuss in Gemara. So, Abishaya Kori Oso Tziporin. Abishaya will call this Kli Maritza Tziporin. So, the Tziporin is a nail, right? A fingernail. So, different interpretations why he called the fingernail here. The well, I should read the word first. Yeah, it's like a nail, but how is it like a nail? So the Moshe says that is smooth like a nail. There is another pshat here, which the article brings down, is that it had a sharp top, like a nail, and he says, it's not necessarily a fingernail. He says that it's... No, I guess it is fingernail. I guess there was a nail which had sharp in the top of the nail. That's what he says. Suppose that's it's like a fingernail which is sharp on top. That's from the Talmud and Rashbash and the Rasabilio. Okay, and then it's a digging tool. So that's so that's why it's called tziporin. Malamar Maritza, the opinion which calls them Maritza, says the Gemara Mishim Maritza Se'evim Lebeis HaKfaros, because it runs the stones to the kever. So the several interpretations of this as well. So the Moshe says Shem Shemaritza Se'evim Lebeis HaKfaros Minesha Klize Machlikim. I'm going to use it to smooth the stones. But say Machzor when you quarry them. Or I guess you make a quarry out of them. Not sure what he means by that. The gravestone, the basic photos. The Katan Chadi brings in Shechovin is Mizdamin Lem Evan Meritza. Use it in order to rush the stone to the cemetery. Because the Rambam brings down Shemaritza sa etzem Peshagimar Shakli Mechatidim Ratzim Bos Atzomos, which they would crush and pulverize the bones. So you can put into a basket. Take it from place to place. It's from language I believe it says by Yoel, where she crushed the skull of Swiss. No, is that by Yoel? Shmuftim test seems that's too far. I don't know what it's referring to. The name it's he says interested to whatever it is that Pasuk in Shoftim. So it says Chozik Tumasani b'Cheskas Tuma, since they're used for very tummy stuff, so therefore they were b'Cheskas Tuma. It's an interesting discussion. First, he saw us astonished how it can be mavaz and mason and crush them and pulverize them because of the red bars. It's to do kvodah shomes to bring to kfura by the bnei mishpacha. They were allowed also to pulverize the bones. But I think if they're allowed to pulverize bones to bring them to Yerushalayim, I think that's the case. In other words, to bring to Yerushalayim, they're allowed to pulverize bones and transport them. So therefore, it could be that once they pulverized them, they left them in that keli, the maritza, and brought them into Yerushalayim that way. So for Yerushalayim quotes his father-in-law, who said that it's once, and he put a riot for his father-in-law from Prishon or Desim Tavchimo. So once it's partially pulverized, you're allowed to completely pulverize it further. But I think it's to bring it up to Yerushalayim, you're allowed to put it like into a cargo load on a donkey, you're allowed to compact the bones in order to bring the Yerushalayim. So I don't think it's actually, I know that it's Yisrael, I think the Yerushalayim is all, I guess, according to this, they'd be allowed to bring it. It's interesting, there is another point which Ofer Shem points out, which is if it's just used for the stones. Why is it why is it tummy? You're just using it for the stones. But that's obviously what the, obviously since they're involved very much, there was a metal kaling, it was involved in quarrying the stones, it probably used it to bring the stones to basic forest, and it got tummy in that way. Okay, that brings us to the bottom of Nun Chesed Base, and the two dots here. But we only have one more line to the next Mishnah. So let's do the next line. The Gemara says about the case where you had the knife which was tied on to the into the cleaver. So the halacha of the cleaver is like the knife. That if you find it on the 14th day, which is the weekday, you don't have to toivel it. And the Gemara says, no, there's an opposite shita. The opposite shita is Tani, Hasakin Kshurlo, Hareza Kamosa. It says, Takachati in Bryce, Plika Masis with him, so Hasakin Kashab Kubitz, Hareza Kakupitz. It becomes like the Kupitz, Ubezel, Shani Matbil. Therefore, just like the Kupitz, even on Yudal, since it's not imminently necessary, so therefore it might be tummy, you have to toivel it. So to this knife, it's tough to kupitz, and you have to be toivel the knife as well. I'm going to check if the Chaim was like that talking chadatin. He says interesting thing. He says that the he focuses on the word kshura. This is. If it's you could tell what's tied, how it's tied on. One thing is tied on to the other thing. In other words, if the kuvitz is tied on to the sakin, you can tell from the knot. So then it looks like the sakin. If the sakin is tied on to the kupitz, again you can tell from the knot. Then it stands like the kupitz. So it's not arguing the Mishnah. It's qualifying. It says depends. If you can tell from the knot what was tied on to what, then you go by what the kesher, what the knot indicates. Okay, now we'll stop.